So how do you go from 0 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100K, 100K to your first $1 million in 2025? And I'm talking about how do you do this with a bootstrap budget, so we're not born with a silver spoon, and how do you do it in 2025 where the rules of the game have completely changed? And why have they changed? Well, first of all, your competition is now no longer just other businesses. It's not people that have been playing this game for longer than you. That's not your competition anymore. And it's arguable that they were never your competition to begin with. But now you're also going to consider that there's AI and robotics that are doing the work of humans and doing it at a fraction of the cost. How do you compete with that? You see, if you're talking about things like dropshipping, e-commerce, as an example, yes, you can still find pockets of success. That's true. But as a general blanket statement, is it getting harder to succeed? Yes, it is. Why is that? Well, because of this. Let's say, for example, TikTok as an example. Let's forget the fact that a lot of US-based people got surprised when all of a sudden TikTok got banned. Forget that part, right? Let's say you can still sell on TikTok. Well, what TikTok does is they learn, so TikTok, the company, the Chinese entity, learns about, well, who's selling really well on the TikTok platform? What strategies are they using? What products are they selling? What pricing strategies are they using? Etc., right? From there, they pass it on to a Chinese supplier whose cost of producing the goods is way less than the Western counterparts that uses China to source products. So you're going directly to the Chinese supplier and they're going, well, why don't we just cut them out, sell the exact same thing or something similar for a fraction of the price, similar strategy, similar marketing, similar messaging, but we'll do it at 30% the cost or 50% the cost. Now, how do you compete with that? Does that make sense? Now, of course, you can still compete by creating a moat, creating a brand, creating something where it's difficult for outsiders to penetrate that, right? However, we want actionable steps being somebody starting from zero. Or let's say not zero, because there is no business with zero capital at all. To make a website costs money. to make mistakes costs money. So let's say from $1,000, let's make it fair, okay? What would I do at $1,000 to 10,000 first, okay? Well, the first thing I would consider is, would I invest $1,000 into something like Bitcoin or shares or something like that? You could, but then you'd still have to work and find a job somewhere else. You see, it's not that they're bad investments to put your money into in assets or whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's the S&P 500, etc., right? It's not that it's a bad decision. It's just that even if you make, say, 50% every year somehow, right? 50% on $1,000 is just $500. You're not going to get rich. You're not going to pay off your mortgage. You're not going to, you understand. So you have to get really aggressive investing into something else, investing into your own headspace. Okay. So I always say this to the Indonesian people that I teach. The best investment you can make is in your own headspace. And why is that? Because it's the only asset that once you invest in it, nobody can steal it from you or take it from you by force. They can take your Bitcoin by raiding your house and stealing your secret keys. They can take your gold by going through the vaults and finding all the gold. They can take your shares by dropping the share price to, liquidating you if you're using leverage, or otherwise destroying the company and making it go bankrupt or insolvent. They can, name it. Your property can burn down. California fires, for example, okay? And I say that with a sensitive mood, okay? But the point is, the only asset they cannot take by force is whatever you put in here, your intellectual assets. So from $1,000 to $10,000, I would be aggressively learning, okay? What do you learn? We'll talk about that in a second. And it is about to rain here, so we'll see how we go. Learning skills, so generic skills that usually apply to every business. The ability to speak and communicate, to influence and persuade other people, which is, you call that sales, you call that public speaking, you call that whatever, but it's the ability to talk and communicate by written word so that somebody listening to you or reading your thoughts wants to do the thing you're telling them or asking them to do, right? That skill, that's really important. The skill of being able to market, so being able to reach new customers, that's an important skill. The skill of being able to use resources around you to scale up whatever you're doing right now. So using AI, which is very cheap and often free actually, right? Using AI to streamline a lot of your work, to write the code for your website using command prompts as if you're talking to a person, right? Write me a website that does this and looks like that, right? Learning those skills, that's extremely important. But the other thing that you also have to learn, which a lot of people miss, is behavior. That's the thing that lots of people miss, right? It's one thing to learn a skill, it's another thing to shape a behavior that uses skills to make something out of it, right? That's the part that you can't really take that from a book. You can't take that from watching a YouTube video, because that's data coming into your mind. It's not yet turning that information into a behavior. You see, somebody like Elon Musk, as an example, has several successful behaviors. His work ethic of working incredibly long hours is a behavior. His ability to eliminate first what's unnecessary and then build on what is necessary, automated, blah, blah, blah. That is a behavior, right? So you have to start shaping behaviors. And the only way you can do that is through repetition. That's the first thing. So doing something over and over and over again until it becomes a habit or a behavior. And the other thing you need to do is to also get feedback loops as often as you can and high quality as you can. Okay, so high quality feedback loops as quickly as you can. How do you do that? Well, again, repetition makes things quicker, but the other thing that extremely fast forwards everything, shortcuts everything, is to have people around you, whether it's advisors engaging with a coach or mentor, or whether it's a team with specializations that are, they're specialists at things that they're better than you at it. I worded that a bit funny, but you get what I mean. So editors of mine that edit way better than I can. Programmers that program way better than I can. Product designers that product design better than I can, etc. And compiling them, brainstorming, and shaping behaviors, right? Getting feedback on things that you try and so forth. Those are the things you want to be doing early on, from $1,000 to $10,000. I think the quickest way is, number one, if you like to read a lot of books. The second thing is to engage in a mentor, a coach, consultant. Okay? Those would be 1K to 10K. 10K to 100K. Well, first of all, congratulations on making it to 10K, but the next thing you have to start thinking about is, how do I now scale up whatever got me from 0 to 10, right? Because if going from 0 to 10 meant you had to work long hours, to scale it up means, well, I only have 24 hours in a day. I can't, I have to sleep 8 hours, I have to eat 2 hours, I have to do whatever. So let's say you have 12 hours of intensive hustling every single day, right? Well, once those 12 hours are booked out, if you are dealing with clients one-on-one, if you're booked out, you're booked out. You can't scale higher than that. And you'd burn out eventually anyway. And then you have to start thinking, well, if I start employing people, how scalable is that? Okay? Sometimes it is scalable. So for example, something that really helps scale my business is scaling through sales, right? So hiring sales staff, giving them incentives for overachieving and getting lots of commissions, and penalties for underachieving, right? That helps scale a lot, okay? However, right, between 10 to 100K, when you're talking about scaling, the thing you're scaling is not necessarily just by recruiting more people. It's also things like, how do I automate systems? How do I use AI to streamline a lot of things that were complex, and now I can do it much quicker by using AI to automate everything? How do I use integrations? And this is all technical language, by the way. Basically, the simple answer is this. From 10 to 100K, what you want to start thinking about is, how do I scale it so that I can do more with less me involved? Okay, that's the thinking. You already have skills to get you from 0 to 10. Okay, 10 to 100K is just scaling it up. 100 to even 1 million involves just scaling things even higher and higher and higher, right? But past $100,000, the game starts to change, okay? Past $100,000, you can start to seriously consider things like investments, okay? Now, that being said, does that mean you don't touch any investments at all until $100,000? First of all, disclaimer, this is not financial advice, it's not investment advice, this is just personal opinion. This is just what I personally would do, okay? So do your own research and accept your own risks in taking any further actions. But that being said, for me personally, my view is this. If I didn't have the behavior investing any of my money when I had $1,000, I'm not going to expect that I have that behavior when I have $1 million. Does that make sense? So even when I have just $1,000, putting aside, say, I don't know, 10%, 20% into whatever investment you research and you deem is best for you, right? Creates a behavior where In addition to spending time, energy, resources to improving yourself, your business, your systems, you also have set aside a nest egg, something that you put aside and you never look at it, and it just goes up and up and up over the long term, okay? That behavior is a really important one to build even when you have nothing or close to nothing, right? Although it feels hard when you have nothing. But at least from my own personal experience, creating that behavior when I had only tens of thousands of dollars helped me such that when I have millions of dollars, I still have that same habit. I still have that same behavior. Okay, a large part of that behavior shaping, by the way, is thanks to engaging with mentors as well. FYI. but the point remains the same. Past $100,000, you start to seriously consider, well, okay, I can actually invest my funds into things that grow passively for me for the long term. Now, I'm not going to talk about what investment specifically because I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an investment advisor. I can't give that type of advice. You would look for your own investment advisor and seek professional advice as to what they think. However, if you ask me from my own personal experience, I grew a lot through cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin specifically. Okay, so that's my vehicle of choice. It's not to say you should do it too. But because I had the behavior of putting aside some into a nest egg, while my cash flow from business was growing from 0 to 10, 10 to hundreds, hundreds to millions, I have the behavior to set aside portions of that into Bitcoin. For me, okay? And so past 100 and heading into $1 million, you start seriously considering, well, on top of whatever I'm doing on my business, I should also have nest eggs. I should also be putting things aside in areas where it goes up passively and it goes up at a rate that's higher than real inflation, not reported inflation, real inflation, which for me, the benchmark is around 20% a year or more. Okay, and there's really only a few asset classes that do that. And you know, I'm not going to advise you on anything here in this video, but you need to do your own research in that regard, okay? But that would be what I would personally do. And all along the process of doing that, you know, even people at the billions of dollars, they also have their advisors. There's, you know, disregard what happens with P. Diddy, Sean Combs, right? Regardless of his, you know, legal issues and his nasties, he still had mentors when he was climbing the ladder too. There's videos of him with Ray Dalio, right? And he's having a discussion with Ray Dalio and going, how do I fix you know, systems in my business like this? How do I recruit better and blah, blah, blah. So even at the billions, you're still improving what's in here because that is the investment of highest return. And it's also the safest investment because it can't be taken from you and it can only be compounded. Okay. But that being said, that's what I would personally look at doing in 2025 to going from 0 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100, 100 to 1 million and beyond. I hope that gives you some food for thought and at the very least, gives you a starting point to then tinker with, okay? I'll see you in the next video, and if you find this helpful, subscribe, leave a comment, and I think we should have a community somewhere that you can join, so if you want to join in, join in. See you guys next time, and here's to success.